Hello there. A lot of people will be very pleased that the Labour Party seems intent on imploding rather than taking the fight to the Tory government. Firstly, please subscribe and like this video to give my channel a boost, and I'm always uploading new content, so please do check back daily. Right now, with the UK economy falling off a cliff and with unemployment about to surge, the Labour Party should be rubbing its hands with glee as the capitalist Tory beast is dealt a potentially mortal blow from lockdown. But that's not the case, as the Labour Party continues to work out if its priority is to move back towards the golden age of Jeremy Corbyn, or become something seen as resembling electable by the British electorate. This would be a good time for its own survival for the Labour Party to get its brown stuff all in the same sock. But the Corbynistas and the Starmerites seem to be happier slinging said brown stuff in each other's direction. And major Labour backer, the Unite Union, is now umming and ahhing over its donations to the Labour Party thanks to anti-Semitism whistleblowers suing Labour and getting a payoff. So Unite is warning Keir Starmer and co that they shouldn't take Unite's money for granted. And with all the legal toings and froings, it's hard to work out exactly who is suing whom and for what and for how much. It seems that every time one side replies to the other, another flurry of lawsuits emerges. In fact, it's probably best to sit back and watch the Labour Party implosion happen rather than try to tease out what's going on, because getting it wrong might attract the attention of those litigious Labourites. The Unite leader Len McCluskey told The Observer that Unite would more likely than not be looking at reviewing funding to the Labour Party, and that it's an abuse of members' money. A lot of it is Unite's money, and I'm already being asked all kinds of questions by my executive. It's as though a huge sign has been put up outside the Labour Party with "Queue here with your writ and get your payment over there." Not much sweetness and light there then, and potentially puts the skids under the Labour Party accounts. But not only is there the threat of reduced funding, but also the danger of being financially wiped out by those court cases too. But isn't it strange that some on the left of all places would quite happily eat their own party to line their own bank balances? Very socialist of them. Boris Johnson must be thanking his lucky stars for the state that the Labour Party has got itself into right now, but possibly only for right now. The Tories have their own problems, which all stem from being in power at a critical moment in the nation's history. It would only take a Neil Kinnock-esque expulsion of the far left and unions and a more traditional and moderate party membership to cause the Labour Party to become seemingly electable again. And that's all they would have to do, to appear to be electable. Have no doubt that when the end of the year hits and unemployment is at a record level with the economy in nosedive, all those votes lent to the Tory party to form a government could well revert back to Labour. And what if it took with it a surge in moderate Labour Party membership? After all, if the unemployment forecasts are right, then there will be a lot of very unhappy people out there unable to pay the rent and unable to put food on the table. It'll be more food bank than a lunchtime pret for many, many people. Boris Johnson will have to out-left the left to cling on to power, with some form of financial support that meets the needs of wavering voters and professional workers that the lockdown has thrown on the scrap heap, if that is even possible. How do you get people to vote for you after you've taken away their livelihoods, futures, houses and food? How do you tell a 50-year-old man who has lost everything, possibly a very lucrative everything, to go and start again? How do you give entrepreneurs the confidence to take personal risks to open up new businesses when you could just shut them down in a heartbeat for another local or even national lockdown, possibly throwing a life savings down the pan? Labour may be in the middle of a civil war, but they must be thanking Stalin that they didn't get elected at the last general election. Right now there are real fears that we are entering into a divisive K-shaped recovery, where half the population quickly shrugs off the economic effects of the pandemic, while the other half are left in the gutter. And these pandemic lockdown rules will be lasting a lot longer yet. Every day the government thinks up more ways of hammering a wafer-thin curve even flatter. And remember that the mask-wearing rules are in place for a year and will only be reviewed after 6 months. And that review will take place in mid-January, just when the likelihood of coughs, snuffles and sneezes is at its height. I'll leave you to decide which way the politicians will turn on that one. How much of the economy will be left by then, especially at the lower factory floor and services end? Come the next election, Labour would only have to come out of the shadows with a banner offering free money for all those that were left behind by the Tories, and say that all those big businesses and that benefited from public money and stayed afloat during and after the pandemic will be taxed to help pay for it. It was only a few months ago when it looked like Boris Johnson's government could have ended Labour for good. However, Boris's response to the coronavirus looks to be destroying entire industries, the repercussions of which will be felt for years to come, maybe generations, unless there is some sort of great reset. To win elections, political parties need to be on the right side of events and benefit from a sound economy. Ask yourself, does that describe the position Boris is in right now? For those on the upward leg of the K-shaped recovery, life looks maybe good and rosy. But for those on the downward leg, life is going to be extremely challenging for some time to come. And those on the downward leg are never going to forgive the Tories, especially if they lent them their vote. But those on the upward leg will like the Tories, until the tax bill comes in to help those many of whom who are less fortunate than them. And it's no good pointing at the polls today and saying, rubbish, Boris and the Tories are miles ahead and that the next general election is years away. Even if we're able to shrug the coronavirus fears off by the end of next winter, that will only leave 3 years to the next general election in 2024, during which to rebuild the entire country's economy. And then there's the real possibility of a post-pandemic austerity drive to consider. And all the time Labour will be rebuilding itself. And it's the polls that happen around the time of no fairy on the Christmas tree, no presents underneath it, and no turkey and ale on the table that you have to be on the lookout for. You may not want to hear it, but the way things are going right now, unless the Tories can get this economy going toot sweet, pedal to the metal, Michael Gove is looking more likely to don a bikini and win the Miss World competition than the Tories are to win the next general election. Sorry to leave you with that picture in your head. If you don't want to see a Labour government, or worse, a Lib-Lab coalition, get on to your Tory MP today, because if you don't, this will drag on and on. Anyway, if you want to hear more from me, please don't forget to subscribe and also press that little bell, or you won't get any notifications. And if you want to see more of me, buy a mug with my mug on it. So what do you think about the Labour Party? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.